In the world's greatest country, in its most pivotal state, lies Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, an economic hub that's as vibrant as it is ideologically eclectic. Its just over 700,000 residents will play a critical role in deciding the course of American leadership and thereby the world. Who are the thinkers, workers, and leaders that will decide our collective fate? Join me, Moshe Kurtz, as I walk through the valley and find out. Thank you, my friends, for joining me today as I walk through the valley with a member of Allentown City Council and Democratic nominee for Pennsylvania State House District Number 22, Councilwoman C.C. Gerlach. It is wonderful to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And I like to give credit where it's due. It was, I think over half a year ago at this point, we already have to get the next one on the calendar, that I have to thank you. You did join the Jewish community when we had a menorah lighting, our inaugural one at City Hall. It was with Mayor Turk and other members who were there, and you were there representing in City Council. So thank you so much for joining us and for being with us here today.
Oh, yeah, of course. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Now, Councilwoman, you are running for a state representative, a state house seat here, which represents the eastern side of Allentown, Salisbury, and anywhere else we should know about?
Most of Center City. So up to Center City, about like 12th, 13th Street area.
So that's really important. So this is your kind of opening statement. Why should you serve as the next representative for the 22nd District?
Right. So the 22nd District is a working class district. Now, some people are going to work as doctors and some people may be going to work as fast food workers. But either way, everyone in this 22nd District needs a paycheck to pay their mortgage, to pay their rent. And I'm going to Harrisburg to represent working class people, to actually pass policy for working class people. Working people need a champion. They need someone with a bold vision and a history of actually getting stuff done. These systems are not working for us. When you've got to choose between groceries and gas and start putting food back, something is deeply wrong. And the way that we change these systems is through policy. It's not through rhetoric. It's not through empty promises. It's through legislation. And that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to take my 6 years on city council, 8 years on school board, bring that to Harrisburg and get stuff done for people.
Very well said. And I definitely want to unpack the legislative aspects a little bit further in the interview. But what I want to do actually is take a little bit of a step back first.
Sure.
You already started giving us a little bit of the CV over here on city council, on school board. I want to go back a little bit further than that because help us understand, did 10-year-old CC always plan on going into politics?
No, 10-year-old CC. So I was a weird kid. Very weird.
I was into Star Wars. Now it's cool. Everyone thought it was weird then.
Yes, I was that kid that was at the book fairs. I'd go and I would read all the dinosaur books. That was my thing. Not Star Wars. It was always dinosaurs. And I always wondered, not just about kind of sci-fi and other worlds, but also just our world. I grew up in the projects, and so in Maryland. And so I'd look around and I'm surrounded by all this poverty. I'm surrounded by things that I knew weren't right. But I also knew that there were reasons why the drug dealer was selling drugs. That even as a kid, as a 10-year-old, I knew he didn't just wake up one day and decide this is what I aspire to be, that there were circumstances that led him to that point. I knew that because when kids were picking on me, it was the drug dealers who helped me out.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't any, nonprofit. It wasn't any person of authority. It was the people who in many situations we deem as unworthy. And that scenario has continued throughout my life, that the folks who have had my back are many times the folks who society looks at as disposable and that they are the menaces. So 10-year-old me was a weirdo kid looking out the window, thinking about what would happen if a T-Rex walked through the projects. Like, that's where my mind was at. And it was also, though, I remember experiencing like this kind of different world, because I would go to the Boys and Girls Club, and because of the Boys and Girls Club, I had an opportunity to leave the neighborhood, and we would play basketball in other neighborhoods with nice gyms and nice playgrounds. And I always wondered, well, why does my neighborhood look like this? Why does their neighborhood look like that? Why is there such a I didn't know the word demographic, but why is there a demographic difference between people in my neighborhood and their neighborhood? Why? I always just wondered why, even as a 10-year-old kid. But politics, no. When I came to the Lehigh Valley, I attended Cedar Crest College. When I graduated in 2008, Obama was running for president.
Oh, that's an important year.
Yeah, that changed everything. If Obama never would have said, be the change you wish to see in this world, and if he was never this biracial, identified as black man running for president who didn't know his father the way I didn't know mine, and I couldn't see myself as the way I felt him to that degree, I wouldn't be sitting here right now saying that I'm running for state representative as a Democratic nominee. It was President Obama who introduced me to what is a Democrat, what is a Republican, what is door knocking, how can you use the political system to actually help people that are in similar circumstances as yourself.
So you felt like Obama was talking to you.
Yeah, and if he's watching this right now, I live on Hall Street in Allentown. Come on by. I could use all the support, even if you don't want to knock doors with me. Just come on by, say hi. I did get an opportunity to meet him one time, but I was one of many, and I got my opportunity to cry and tell him how he changed my life. Wow. But yeah, he sees everything.
Well, I know that the current President Trump, was recently in the Valley at the Mack Truck Factory not so long ago. So we'll see if President Obama decides to pay us a visit. He's welcome on the podcast as well, by the way. President Obama, if you are watching, you're welcome to have an interview too.
I'll sit right over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the guest moderator.
Yeah.
So okay, that's good. And so let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
We've had, I'm a little bit self-referential. We've had a few other interesting guests on the podcast as well. One of them is Executive Josh Siegel, Lehigh County Executive. And I was talking to him about the endorsements that he made. And of course, you were one of them.
Yes.
And what Executive Siegel said to me is that, I'm going to paraphrase, that CC doesn't get enough credit for being an effective legislator. You run a really good social media game, and you run a really good ground game in real life also, I should say. But you also, according to Executive Siegel, were an effective legislator during your time currently on city council. So help our listeners understand, what would you consider to be your most significant legislative achievements? Yeah,
so I would say that during my time on council, what I have learned is that there are the big ticket items, the ones that when I am 99 years old, I will tell my great grandkids about. And I also know that as a legislator, a lot of the things that you do are kind of just day to day. It's things that don't really get any hype, but they're important because they keep this city going. It's important that we've got women and men to fill the potholes. It's important that we've got stoplights that work. It's important that we've got enough parks and recreation staff to play with the kids in the summer. And I've been instrumental in that. And also, I've been instrumental in passing some major legislation. I would say something I'm most proud of is the Welcoming City bill that passed back in 2025, I believe it was. It was right after President Trump came into office. He was inaugurated, saw the writing on the wall, got with a couple of immigration attorneys and immigration activists in Philly and then also locally here, and we organized.
Is this what they call a sanctuary city?
So some people might say the word sanctuary city, but technically there is no sanctuary city. ICE can come in As long as ICE is a federal immigration.
They supersede local ordinances.
So there's really no such thing as a sanctuary city. It is a welcoming city in that the city of Allentown is a welcoming city in that our taxpayer dollars are not used to do federal immigration enforcement. They're used in our parks or in our playgrounds as they should be. It is a welcoming city in that our police department does not ask, or any city employee does not ask someone's immigration status. In that aspect, yes. But at the end of the day, ICE, they supersede what we're able to do in some aspects. But passing that legislation was that was everything. It was not supposed to pass. I didn't have the votes going into that meeting.
Oh, really?
Where we had a room full of people and out into the hallway.
Wow.
And I thought we were going to leave disappointed. I thought we were going to leave crying. And I say crying because that's not over exaggerating. There are people whose lives, their ability to live is at risk under this current administration, federal administration. And that's why I thought I'd be crying at the end of the night. But
you're crying out of joy at the end.
I think, oh my gosh, yeah, people other electeds in the room who were initially against the legislation listened to public testimony, and by the end of the night, they were in favor of the legislation, and we are now a welcoming city. Unless ICE has a warrant, we're not handing over people.
So you definitely notched a number of achievements during your time on council. So just let us know. So now that you are campaigning to serve as a state level representative, what are you looking to achieve in that capacity that you haven't been able to do on council, right? This isn't just about getting a career promotion and upgrade. Presumably you have a number of agenda items. So should you be sent to Harrisburg, what is first on your agenda?
So housing. I have a number of housing policies, but I'll talk about a couple of them. The first thing is rent stabilization. The rent is too high. I'm meeting people who work their whole lives as nursing assistants, and they get $1,600 a month in Social Security, and their rent is $1,400. Their landlords are telling them it's going up another $200. All of their income is going towards their rent. That woman I met in the apartment on the east side, she will become homeless.
Wow.
And there are thousands of people in the 22nd district and across Pennsylvania in similar situations where one or two things will make it so they cannot afford their rent and their landlord's going to increase their rent. So I'd like to introduce rent stabilization that will cap the rent increases up to the rate of inflation. So property owners will still be able to raise the rent so they can, maintain the property.
Right.
But not $100 to $300. We're talking minimal increases just so they can upkeep the properties and, upkeep with taxes and be able to still make a profit. Yeah.
Right, because I think one of the questions that people generally push back on when they hear about rent stabilization, it's not the principle of the matter. I think everybody wants affordable housing. Everybody I hope if someone's a decent person, they want people to be housed.
I hope. You never know. Yeah.
But I think the question is for the landlords who are charged with maintenance, if they see that they're not going to turn a profit, they may be derelict in their responsibility to maintain the property. So how do you counterbalance that concern? Yeah,
so I'm actually meeting it was like 2-3 weeks from now with a property owner. He's not like a large scale property owner, but he has a decent portfolio, and he supports rent control. So he's going to, or rent stabilization, he's going to speak with me about some of those concerns on how to mitigate that, so that with any piece of legislation, what I have learned on council is sometimes there are unintended consequences, negative unintended consequences. So you have to meet with people who can see them in the so-called opposition to find those unintended consequences, and as much as you can mitigate the effects of them before you even do it. So that's what I'm doing now.
Absolutely. And I think this actually fits with something. You posted something, I think it was on your Facebook account. I'm not on TikTok or any of the fancy new ones, so it was probably there. It went something like, we don't have a mental health crisis today. We have a poverty crisis. Many people would argue there is a mental health crisis.
Yes.
So I'm sure there's a lot below the surface of that soundbite, and I'd love for you to just unpack what that meant.
Yeah, I mean, mental health is obviously of a concern. I have family members who have pretty significant mental health issues, and a lot of that obviously is, chemical and how you're born.
Right.
And there's also an environmental aspect. So, if you are, say, born with schizophrenia and you are born into a middle-class family, or even nowadays you'd have to be upper middle class to actually make it, and you've got, resources, insurance, you can go get your therapy, you can go get the medication, you have access maybe to a car or a bus or something to get you to employment, you've got maybe two parents that can walk you through an interview, versus you're someone with the same mental health challenge and you're living in either on the street or in a dilapidated apartment without internet. It's noisy all over.
It's going to exacerbate it.
So if we, as a society, yes, obviously we need to tackle mental health. And I think a large way we can do that is by tackling poverty, because poverty makes mental health situations and crises that are already existing even worse. I mean, I think about my mom coming home. She started working when I was 11 or 12. Yeah, like middle school, 6th grade. And she would come home and just be so stressed from her job all day. She's cleaning and people treat custodians like mean. And so she'd come home tired, and here I am bubbly. Hey, let me tell you about my day. She didn't want to hear it. She's tired. And it's just like, and so not only does it affect, and then she feels bad for not, being able to engage with me, it affects the entire family.
Right.
And so, yeah, poverty is a disease in unto itself.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you experienced that. And I think your point's well taken, which is we hear a lot about mental health awareness. And if I understand what you're saying is that is true, point well taken. And in addition to it, without discounting the mental health crisis, it's exacerbated by a poverty crisis in which people are not able to cope and get the help they need because they are impoverished.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I know people who are impoverished, and you tell them, hey, go take a walk. Well, if the neighborhood that they're living in is not safe enough for them to take a walk, they can't use that as a coping skill.
Right.
So sometimes even the coping skills that mental health professionals provide to people, folks can't use them. Even to access the appointment itself, you need a phone if you're doing telehealth. If you can't afford a phone, you're not getting there. If you can't afford bus fare to get to your appointment, the root is poverty. That's the disease.
Right. That makes sense. I think about it if I go to a doctor's appointment at St. Luke's. So, yes, it's doable without the app. But if I want to see results from my blood work, there might be a way to do it on the computer, but having it on a phone, on a smartphone, definitely streamlines it, and it's becoming more the expectation. Yeah. So let's, things sound very doom and gloom right now. Yeah. So we'll lighten things just a little bit for a moment. So, something, I'll give you credit for. I remember, here I am. I'm just like, a random clergy from the neighborhood here in Allentown. And a testament to what you've been doing, you've been playing a really strong ground game. I remember just, not so many months into me even being here, you had reached out. We got a coffee in the lobby of the JCC, the Jewish Community Center there. So, that definitely was the genesis of me thinking about, wow, I should sit down with CC for an interview at some point. So this has been long in the making, by the way. But when you are not campaigning, when you are not on the job. If that, I know that doesn't really happen. I think I've discovered anyone who's worthwhile sitting down with doesn't have that much free time. No. But when you do, I gave you a tour of the synagogue earlier, and I showed you how we had a prefab 4 Beatles concert. You said Beatles wasn't your kind of jam. So what do you do in your free time? So
I recently have started working out. I've realized that, and I actually do enjoy that.
Door knocking doesn't count?
Door knocking, it's great. But so initially I will say I started working out so I could door knock more effectively.
Oh.
But now it's something I actually do enjoy. Like after this, I'm going to the JCC and I'm going to work out. It raises the adrenaline. It's a time I can focus on myself. Yeah, a couple of phone calls will sneak in that are political, but overall the time is for me. I love swimming, and I discovered gardening. I love gardening. Love animals. I'm fostering a little kitten right now for the Humane Society. So yeah, I'd have to say out of everything though, animals, like if everything was taken and as long as I had my animals, both the outside animals and my pets, I'm good. Yeah.
I should have introduced you. I don't know if you noticed on your way in, there's a woman from our congregation, Marcia Schechter, who was just working on our flower garden for the synagogue.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So I hope you appreciate that on your way in. She
Definitely.
puts her heart and soul into that. I want to go to another quote of yours.
Yes.
This might even be your signature quote. You'll let me know.
Okay.
It goes, people closest to the pain should be closest to the power.
Mm-hmm.
Unpack that one for us.
Yeah. If you've been through something, you know the intricacies of it at a level that no book, no theoretical exploration could ever teach anybody. People who are standing in line at food banks should have a position that they can influence what's happening in terms of food inequality and access to food, because they are the ones that are suffering from these systems that are not working. Those of us who have fallen through the cracks in the system best understand where the cracks are because we fell through them.
That makes sense.
If you've never fell through a crack,
it's theoretical.
It's theoretical. It's something you read in college. But when you've literally fallen through the cracks and you've seen your friends, your neighbors fall through other cracks, when someone tries to gaslight you and tell you that trickle-down economics works, you look at them like, I don't know, and you haven't seen that. Yeah.
Well, we will be having your Republican counterpart, Bob Smith, on soon, and we will talk to him about his vision of economics. Yes. But before we get there, I want to run another idea by you. This isn't your quote, but I'm curious your thoughts on it. It's something that Governor Newsom and even now candidate Dr. Al-Sayed have posited, that they argue that in the United States of America, most of the country is not divided along a right to left spectrum as we conventionally think of it, but it's actually more of an up versus down spectrum. Are you in agreement with that?
Oh yeah, 100%. There's the top 1% that controls and owns most of the wealth, and then there's the rest of us that are left fighting for crumbs and table scraps. Something is fundamentally wrong when the bottom 20% of income earners in Pennsylvania, that 15% of their income goes towards taxes, whereas the top 1%, it's like 6% of their income is going towards taxes. Their state taxes. Something is fundamentally wrong when we've got small mom and pop coffee shops and small businesses, and they are paying their taxes as a small business, but you've got these mega corporations that aren't paying their income taxes in Pennsylvania. Something is fundamentally wrong when we've got every other state surrounding us that has a progressive taxing system where if you make more, you put more into the system to take the burden off the rest of us. And we as Pennsylvania have the fourth most regressive, which means upside down taxing system in the entire country. When I'm talking to people, Republicans, independents, and Democrats, they want more money in their pocket. They want their kids to have health care. They want to be able to put gas in their car. They want to be able to maybe even take a little vacation. That's what people care about.
Mm.
No one's asking me how progressive you are, how conservative. No, they want to know that I'm going to pass policies that are going to help them.
Right. These are the kitchen table issues. So let me ask you a question. Now, I'm going to preface not about the individual, but about the policies.
Okay.
So you're running against Bob Smith. He's the Republican in the race for the 22nd district. What would you say are the key points of disagreement you have with him on the policy level? Right. I believe I'm sure you guys get along also. You know, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun watching both of you on social media.
Yeah.
Is there a debate scheduled? Or you guys?
There is a debate in September. I believe it's towards the end of September. It's on Business Matters.
Oh, with Tony Iannelli?
Yeah,
very excited.
Yeah.
This is going to be like Clash of the Titans. I feel like both of you are both very passionate orators.
We are very passionate. He's passionate about his beliefs, and I respect that, and I'm very passionate about mine. So I'm sure that debate will be something to watch.
And on a substantive level, what would you say are the main points of disagreement that you have?
Yeah, I would say just on the main kind of issues, let's say immigration. I believe that the United States is a nation of immigrants. I believe that immigrants make this country stronger. I believe that there should be a pathway to citizenship. Mm-hmm. I believe that right now we've got brutal rogue forces on the streets of this country who are terrorizing people and stealing our neighbors. He differs on that, and I look forward to that conversation at the debate.
All right. I look forward if there's a way to pre-register for tickets. I'm definitely going to book.
Yeah.
I'm booking box seats to that one.
Yes.
It's honestly, I have to say, this is admittedly one of the most exciting local races that I think is taking place.
I think so. Yeah.
And one of them, in addition to, I think, the very, charismatic personalities that are involved, is that there's actually something very interesting happening that is being replicated in different parts of the country, in which there's a Republican nominee and the Democrat nominee. I mean, I don't want to label you, but is it fair to say you would be the more progressive Democrat nominee who was vying in the primary?
I am progressive.
You're DSA endorsed?
I've been endorsed by the Working Families Party, DSA, Make the Road, Our Revolution. Yeah, so I've been endorsed by the more progressive-leaning organizations.
So what would you say distinguishes your platform from the mainstream Democratic platform? Yeah,
I mean, so I am a Democrat. I've been a Democrat since I've been 18 years old, but I'm thankful that the Democrats are a big tent party. So are the Republicans. Mm-hmm. And as a member of a big tent party who leans a little left, a little bit more progressive, I would say just the focus on like economic populism, like the not being afraid to make the economically wealthy, the major corporations mad. I don't need their money. I don't get my money from them. I get my money from the people. So therefore, I'm accountable to the people. There are some folks in the Democratic Party and, of course, the Republican Party that are funded by some of these same corporations that are screwing us over. So I think that's the main difference on where you get your money from. Okay, so can I ask a dicey question now? Oh, for it. Yeah. If you have to choose, it's a binary. Okay. I know I do binary. Man. But you have to choose one or the other. Yeah. Unpopular. Yeah. If you have to choose between a Democrat who's not a populist, who has the corporate support, or a Republican who is a true economic populist, like a Steve Bannon kind of philosophy, would you choose the Republican populist who actually keeps to the populism principles, or the corporate Democrat? So I would have to say I've made that choice my entire life as a Democrat. I've voted for the corporate Democrat. That's what I've done. I've done that many times in many races. The person on the ballot is a corporate Democrat, from Hillary Clinton to some would even argue Kamala. Locally, there's a lot of corporate Democrats that are elected, and I have voted for them every time. And I vote for them over, say, in this scenario, more of an economic populist Republican, because yes, those issues are important, and human rights are also important. Like, I wouldn't want to support a candidate who does not value certain individuals to the same level as others.
Right.
So like I wanna vote for someone who's gonna value people in the LGBTQ community. I wanna vote for people who are gonna value people who come from other nations. I wanna vote for people who are gonna value police accountability. Like I wanna vote for people who are going to protect folks.
Right. So let me get to that. Actually, you mentioned police accountability. So you know where I'm going here. Right. So Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, we'll just say AOC for short, as many know her. She said something that's making a big buzz right now. We're recording toward the end of August 2026. Yeah. Right now, it's making all the headlines. The quote is, "I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy." What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I think back to 2020, and I mean, between a pandemic, between George Floyd, it was a crazy time. I don't think anyone can deny that was a crazy time.
Yeah, let me get just a little bit more specific on it, which is, the defund the police was a very big slogan at the time after the George Floyd incident that occurred. And I just want to understand your philosophy. Is defund the police still part of the platform? And what does defunding look like? And the reason I ask is that, as a councilwoman, I'm sure you're well aware of the Allentown Police Department and other local municipalities. I just, Googled it. I hope this is accurate. The average Allentown Police Department personnel makes an average salary of $75,593. So, I mean, in today's economy, it gets you something, but that's still not comfortable. So, two-part question. Is defunding the police still part of the platform? And if it is, how do you square that with the economic message that you're also campaigning for? Yeah,
so I mean, I guess with the language of defunding the police and like kind of into AOC, what she was saying, it's not, to me, it's about the outcome. Could a different word have been used? Probably. I wasn't part of whoever sat in a room and figured out.
You weren't on that committee.
Yeah, I was on that committee and said, this is what we're going to chant. Like, I don't know. What I stand for, though, is making sure that people are getting the help that they need. In some situations, a police officer is needed. It's a violent situation, and a police officer is needed to show up and respond. There are a lot of situations where a police officer is not the right response. We need a mental health worker. We may need a mediator. I don't think that the police go through all the work that they go through to then be called because Susie and Becky are arguing about how tall one of their lawns are, like how tall the grass is. But we don't have any other option. Who else do you call when
to resolve a dispute?
Yeah,
there's no homeowners association to deal with it.
Exactly. So I think that we need to reimagine what public safety looks like, and that we should have different options. Not every option should result in a person with a gun and a badge showing up. We need to have them. But I think the way that, and this might get to a future question, that things get kind of misinterpreted, defunding doesn't mean eliminating. So even back when we were chanting that, and it doesn't mean eliminating the police. It means looking at public safety and making sure that we're actually empowering and helping the police officers to do their jobs. They do not want to show up to situations that they are not equipped to handle.
Right.
That's why we have a crisis intervention specialist team through Pine Brook, because Chief Roca, our current police chief, understands that there are situations that need a mental health professional, sometimes also a police officer. And it's about helping people, and it's about helping the police officer. It also, you think about how many repetitive calls that the police get from the same person all the time.
They're spread thin on resources. I think that's why the argument was not to defund, but to make sure things are being allocated correctly.
Reallocation.
But taking away funds would just stretch them even thinner than they already were beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing
But you said that slogan wasn't, you weren't in the room when they decided on that.
I was not in the room. Can't say I would have figured out a better slogan.
So one last thing before we get to our final round of questions. I think helping the unhoused population has been a cornerstone of your advocacy. So based on all that we discussed, I mean, other than, of course, bringing people awareness of their plight, in concrete terms, what do you think still needs to be done in order to help that population and to ensure that the city remains, taken care of and safe in the process?
Oh, yeah. So I would like at a state level, since that's what I'm running for us as a state to give clear direction and clear direction to municipalities when it comes to, say, safe camping sites. When as a city, we were exploring the idea of having safe camping, we're left to our own devices. And we are doing our own Googling, our own research. It would be great to have some state guidance on what is permissible legally, and if laws need to change, then changing those laws. Because when there is nowhere else for people to go, they've got to exist somewhere.
Right.
So I would say that, but then also working with, we now have, is it the Intra-Agency on Homeless Affairs? Because at the federal level, this current president got it. So now at the state level, we have it, which is a great first step to make sure that services are not being duplicated, identify cracks in the system. And I think one of those cracks is just the housing supply.
Right.
I would like to, and
how do we solve the housing supply?
Yeah, so I'm not promising to get this done on day one, but what I am saying is I'm going to fight to get it done within my first term. At least get the ball rolling. Is we need to require the construction of workforce units. I use the term workforce because workforce housing is for people who work and they don't make enough to actually
Meaning
afford.
Instead of making mansions that are going to turn the biggest profit, making affordable homes.
Yeah, making affordable homes for people who are just working class folks and mandating that. So in New Jersey, they have a state level inclusionary zoning. I think we need to explore that. What would it look like as a state to have a state level inclusionary zoning, which would mean if you're building, I'll just make up numbers here. Say you're building 100 unit, that'd be a big unit, a big apartment building, but you have 100 apartments in there. A certain percentage of them would have to be for regular working people.
That makes sense. And you would hope that's something that can get bipartisan support.
You would think, yes. Housing people, housing is a human right, so you would think it would.
One would have to think. Okay, our final round of questions. So I've had the opportunity to sit down with you for what is nearly 40 minutes at this point. I am so grateful for your time. And what I also understand at the same time is that you have the challenge of anyone in the political sphere that many people only know you as a soundbite. They maybe see a quick little reel on Facebook or whatever it's called on TikTok or short or whatever the terminology is, and they only know you through those brief little soundbites. Admittedly, we use some of them also while trying to get the podcast to make its round to social media. So I'm guilty. The algorithm favors it. We're all slaves to the algorithm. But what do you think people misunderstand about CC the most? That if they were to do what I just did and sit down with you, that they would appreciate about you that they don't yet know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know every single person who's going to watch this, but I will guarantee that we have had some of the same struggles, some of the same fears, that we have the same worries. More than likely, the person is either a retired working class person or is currently in the job force. That's all I am. Like when I think about who I am, these titles, council person, state rep, I'm thankful to be in a position during a chaotic time to be able to do something with my anger, to do something with my fear, which is passing policy or fight to pass policy. And also at the end of the day, I still kind of view myself as a kid that grew up in the projects with a single mom. And that's me. Like, it's not, when I die, my tombstone will have my name, my birth date, my death date. There will be no titles. That is what I think about. If I can just help one person or one animal, if I can just help somebody, that is who I am. And what I say to people is like, you don't even have to like me, but I'm still gonna work my butt off for you, because I know that the same systems and policies that are holding you down are holding me down. And if I can change these, it's gonna help you. So you don't have to like me. You just have to know that I'm still gonna have your back. And that's where I'm at.
I appreciate that. And, from a Jewish tradition standpoint, I appreciate the point about the tombstone. In Jewish burials, everyone gets the same plain pine box that they're put in. Doesn't matter how wealthy they are or how little they had, everyone gets the same exact burial. So I do
respect that.
Yeah, it's from the Talmud. So I appreciate that. 2 more questions. So we've been talking a lot about your policy platform and your backstory. Looking at the other side of the aisle. No, I'm not just talking about the establishment Democrats. I'm talking about like on the red side of the aisle, the Republicans. Is there one thing, looking at what they're doing, with all the disagreements that you have with them, which I'm sure are many, we've gone through them, is there one thing looking at them that you could admire?
They tend to ride together. So you can have some folks who maybe aren't in 100% agreement with more of the non-establishment Republicans, but they'll still vote for them. They'll still support them. They're still viewed as part of the Republican Party. And that's, that's admirable that the Republican Party, they'll have a variety of sectors within that party. And at the end of the day, they're still viewed by the Republicans as Republicans. And I think that's why, you see some of, in the past, we've seen some of the outcomes that we've seen, where we've seen Republicans vote for a presidential candidate that they might have viewed as a bit, but they still voted for him because he's a Republican.
Right. It's interesting. I find that everyone always thinks the other side of the aisle is more unified than their side. I guess you see the inner workings on your side more.
Yes.
One final question. We'll see how dark you go on this one.
Oh, man.
We just had the 250th anniversary of the United States of America just passed. We're still in that year right now.
Yes.
So, Councilwoman C.C. Gerlach, what does that mean to you?
It means that we have spent 250 years trying to live up to the ideals that we profess. We've spent 250 years of activists and freedom fighters, many dying, for us to reach the point where we are a nation of liberty, justice for all. That's what 250 years means. It means that we are not a nation that's finished yet. We're not a nation that is perfect. We never have been. But we've always had people from the founding of this country that have pushed to make us better. So that's what I think about when I think of the 250th anniversary. I think of Fannie Lou Hamer. I think of Cesar Chavez. I think of Assata Shakur. I think of all the people who have fought to make us better and truly be the United States of America.
Well, thank you so much, Councilwoman C.C. Gerlach. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for joining me as I walk through the valley.
Hey, I loved walking through the valley with you.
Thank you for joining me as I walk through the valley. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to our show. If you have questions or would like to book a live recording or have a speaking request, please email rabbi@sonsofisrael.net. This is Moshe Kurtz. I look forward to having you join me next time as I walk through the valley.